Likeware, established in 2006. Wear what you like. Custom apparel logo wear. Art creation and apparel design for schools, corporate, mitzvah, groups, and college sports teams. Bulk orders or hosted online web stores. Now doing college sports apparel bundles. Follow them on Instagram at Likeware, which is Likewear, or visit them online at likeware.com. Now heading into the episode. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the Niche to Notable podcast with Nick Conforti. We're very proud to announce that our first guest comes from the University of Notre Dame, Mitch Jeter. Mitch is an NFL prospect and helped lead the Fighting Irish to the national championship by sinking a 41-yard game-winning field goal against Penn State in the Orange Bowl. Mitch, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nick. How's it going, man? Just happy to be here and thankful that you're starting up this podcast, man. It's going to be a good time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're really glad that you're our first guest. So getting right into it, what was it like going viral after that Penn State game? I mean, everybody I know that was watching that game, all they could talk about was the kicker this, the kicker that, as he related to Derek Jeter, you know. What was that like after the game?
Yeah, it was such a crazy moment. As a team, we were just so excited to be able to have an opportunity to play in the national championship. There was obviously a lot of media behind it between it being the first 12-team playoff and, in years past, it seemed like the playoff happened like a glimpse because there was not as many games. But this year it seemed like we got a little more games with that, with it being the 12 teams. So there was a little more cool moments out there, obviously the field goal being one of them. And I'm just blessed to go out there and give the opportunity to glorify God and opportunity to help this team try to go achieve a national championship.
Absolutely. And then after that game, going on all the media, going on ESPN, all that, what's it like trying to level yourself and get ready for that national championship? Is it hard to get down to that level?
Yeah, I would say, after the game, you have time to kind of do all the media stuff, do everything that comes with your team being successful, right? And Coach Freeman here talks a lot about team glory, and you go out there every time on the field to try to help your team achieve team glory. That's what I was trying to do anytime I go out there to try to make kicks to help our team achieve team glory. But yeah, to answer your question about trying to get, locked back into the national championship as a team, it was definitely something that I felt like we handled, but it was tough for sure. I mean, you have all the media spotlight around you of, hey, you guys are going to the national championship. How does that feel and everything? And then you get down to Atlanta, and there's just so much going on from media day to, they've got like eating competitions and stuff going on for all the fans while you're trying to do interviews and stuff like that. So there's a lot of noise, but as premier athletes, I feel like it's our job to be able to learn how to hone in and focus on those opportunities, and I feel like we do a good job with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as a kicker, it's like next play mentality. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take it back a sec. How did you get into kicking in the first place? Do you have a soccer background? What's the story with that?
Yeah, so I didn't start kicking until I was a junior in high school. Really, didn't commit full go to it until I was a junior in high school. Now, I mean, I did have a soccer background growing up playing soccer since I really could walk, probably. My parents got me into soccer as a young kid and played club soccer and all that stuff. Really was trying to go and play college soccer, but, there's a lot less opportunities, I feel like, with soccer than football, because you're not only recruiting the American base, you're recruiting an international base as well, and not every school has a soccer team. So that was something that, kind of weighed into my decision of, hey, I might need to make this change to get into kicking a little bit. And, I'm forever grateful for that. Football's taken me a lot of places. But yeah, junior year of high school was kind of the start for me. Didn't really commit to fully going to football until about midway through my junior season, and kind of that whole high school recruiting process, that's when that all ramped up. And, like I said, football's taken me a lot of places, and I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, before Mitch transferred to Notre Dame, he was at South Carolina for what, 3-4 years?
I played 4 years at South Carolina. I got there in 2020. I was a kickoff specialist for 2 years, and then I was a starting field goal kicker for 2 years as well.
Gotcha. So What was the difference between playing the SEC versus playing an independent schedule at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's magnitude in both places. SEC, you're going not only at home on the road, everywhere you go, it's a sellout crowd and it's going to be a hostile environment every single place you go. I think the difference from South Carolina to Notre Dame is yes, every place is still going to be a sellout and a crazy place, but there's a lot of tradition at Notre Dame football, and everybody knows Notre Dame's coming to town when it's that game. Everybody kind of treats that game like, oh, we're playing Notre Dame. This is our Super Bowl kind of thing. So that was kind of what I noticed of you maybe go to a school like, let's say we played at Purdue this past year. Like, you don't necessarily think of Purdue selling out every single game, but when Notre Dame came to town, that place is going to sell out and it's going to be jumping. So I played in a lot of crazy environments, playing in the SEC and obviously coming up and playing at Notre Dame my last year. And they're both different. I have a lot of great memories from both, and I'm really happy I got to play in both.
Yeah, it's almost like Notre Dame's kind of America's team, similar to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Sort of what I've noticed. What was the coolest environment that you ever played in? Coolest atmosphere?
Wow.
Either at South Carolina or Notre Dame.
Ooh, that's a good question. So I've played in a lot of crazy environments. Some of the different places in the SEC. South Carolina obviously has a great environment as a home stadium that I played in for 4 years. That place is rocking when that place is going. It's really cool there. For an away schedule, I think I've played at Georgia, I've played at Texas A&M, I've played at Florida, I've played at Clemson. All those places are elite environments. I would say probably a funny story. Tennessee is definitely the loudest place I've ever played.
Really?
A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's not Kyle Field, it's not the Swamp." It was Tennessee, and I think that comes from in the 2022 season. South Carolina, we knocked them off in week 11 to kind of knock them out of the playoff. We put 63 points on them.
Yeah,
I remember and knocked them out of the playoff. And this was the next year. We went to Tennessee, and unfortunately we lost the game. But I remember a field goal attempt. It was like the first or the second drive. I go out there and attempt, I don't know, like 30. I think it was a 36-yard field goal. And you can go out there, and it was the only time in my career I've ever been out there, and you could feel the ground like vibrating a little bit. That's how loud it was in there.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then coming up to Notre Dame this past year, I think some of the crazier environments that I played in were the Texas A&M game in week 1 at Kyle Field. That was crazy. Let's see. And then all the playoff games. All the playoff games were absolutely unbelievable. Sellout crowd, anything you want in a college football game day, it definitely lived up to the hype.
Yeah, sure. You guys hosted the first ever college football playoff game at home. What was that like? Was that surreal? Playing an in-state team too?
Yeah, it was crazy because college game day's there, and I don't know if you've ever been to Notre Dame's campus or anybody watching that's been to Notre Dame's campus. You've got the stadium, and then there's like a quad, and there's Touchdown Jesus on the other end. College game day sets up right in the middle, and all the fans are around it, and our player walk is about. It's probably close. I'd say like 8.8 miles. It's a hike. So yeah,
you got your bags and everything too. You walking around?
No. We don't have the bags. They take them from the hotel and drop them off at the stadium for us. So that's super nice. But yeah, we go to our basilica on campus, go to mass, and then we walk from the basilica all the way to the stadium, and the place is just lined all the way, both sides. Probably 5 to 10 people deep. The whole place, the whole attendance of the stadium is for this player walk. And we get to the point where we're walking down the quad to go to past college game day. And it's nighttime and dark and everything. And all the college game day, it's got these bright lights for TV. And we're walking, and we can't see anything, dude. We're walking right into these bright lights because they're just like, keep walking straight, follow the person in front of you, and people are screaming, people are chanting, and we've got college game day going crazy. Pat McAfee's up there doing some crazy stuff, and people up there just having a great time. That's what college football is all about, in my opinion. But that game was insane. Being a part of the first ever 12-team college football playoff on a home campus, you can't beat it.
So you mentioned like the college game day was there. I don't know if you've seen like Pat McAfee does the kick with the random fan. Do you think a kick like that with $500,000 on the line, with regular sneakers on, Kirk Herbstreit holding the ball, tilted the wrong way. Do you think that's a more difficult kick than the kick against Penn State?
Well, how far is the kick on College game day? Like 30
I think it's
yards, 25 yards,
33 maybe, NFL,
33 yards?
something
I
like
think it's
that.
33. That's right.
And Kirk's got his dog running around too. There's so much
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think that kick on College game day is pretty tough. You're in your sneakers. Sometimes the ground's uneven. You're kicking on like a hill or whatever. Obviously, I don't know if Kirk Herbstreit's the most qualified holder out there. I know McAfee was a punter. I'm sure he's got some holding skills, right?
Yeah.
I think that kick's tough, but obviously going out there and trying to execute a big time high pressure high leverage situation kick in front of 100,000 people, that's it's not easy to do as well, and it definitely takes a lot of work to be able to go out there and execute that.
Yeah, so you mentioned like the pressure. That's sort of everybody talks about that with kickers. Do you work with a sports psychologist or does your team work with one?
We do. So our team works with a sports psychologist with the program. His name's Joey Raymaker. He works with all athletes, and they have a whole great program there. But Joey specifically worked with us as a specialist group. We kind of had that set up to where, a lot of specialists work in different ways. But he kind of just tried to help us work on a process of, specialists all about how repeatable can you be, from when you start to when you finish the kick or whatever, the punt, the snap, whatever you're doing. So, being able to work with him of this is what I want to do every single time, but also get to a point where you're not overcomplicating it, right? Like get to a point where I have my process. This is what I've done. This is what I feel good with, and this is what I want to roll with. And then he was also really good at, if we go to a foreign place, foreign environment, different stadium, getting pictures of the stadium, getting getting that environment settled into your mind early, so when you get there, you act like you've been there before, and go out there and execute. So I liked it. This was really the first year that I had worked with a sports psychologist. He works with our whole team. He does a great job, and super, super happy he's a part of the staff.
Yeah, so you worked with Reno, the snapper, and then Chris Salerno, the holder?
Yeah, so he actually works with the whole specialist group. I think there was about 8 to 10 of us, but Reno and Chris are both in that group, and those guys, my process is a little different than theirs. It's a little different for everybody, right? But sometimes we meet with them one-on-one, sometimes we meet with them in a group setting. Yeah, he's a great guy and super super good at what he does.
That's awesome. So who are some kickers that you grew up idolizing?
Man, good question. The kickers I try to emulate my game after, I think Matt Gay is a really good one that I try to idolize, my form. I'm a big time form focused kicker, and I think Matt Gay's got an exceptional form, and with what I try to do kicking a football, I think he does really well. And then I've also worked a lot growing up with Joey Sly. Worked with those two guys a lot. Kickers you grow up idolizing, you've got Vinatieri, you got Tucker, you've got Butker, you've got all these great guys that have made so many big time kicks. Of late, you think of guys like McPherson, guys that are just so talented, with their ball striking and stuff like that. That's what I think makes a kicker great, is how well you can strike the ball, how true your flight is and everything like that. But yeah, I think being able to grow up watching those guys, and obviously as I've got into kicking, you watch it a little bit more because you understand it. But yeah, I mean, those guys are really good at what they do.
Did you grow up going to kicking camps like Cole's, Chris Saylor, stuff like that?
Yeah, so like I said, I didn't really get involved in kicking until I was a junior in high school. So I kind of was a late bloomer whenever it came to that. But I did go to those camps. But my primary coach was Dan Orner. He works out of Charlotte, North Carolina. But to get some ranking and stuff like that, I did go to some of those Coles and Sailor camps when I was in high school, and it definitely helped me get some opportunities of being able to go to college camps and stuff like that. But really, like, at the end of the day, you get your ranking from those guys, and then you got to go perform at the college camps. Like,
Yeah, it always comes down to those.
yeah, the decision makers are the head coaches and the special teams coordinators in college football, and you got to kick well in front of those guys too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's great when you send clips in through Twitter, online, but it really doesn't mean anything because you can go through, delete the bad ones, keep the good ones. It's really how you do, in person. So if you had a young kicker in front of you that would love to play for Notre Dame or South Carolina, what is one piece of advice that you can give to them now?
I would tell them, don't get tired of doing the little things right, because as a kicker, everybody wants to go out there and bang 50, 60-yard field goals every single day and just kick as far as they can. Where really, like I just said it, like the little things like your ball contact and your ball striking, that's going to help you elevate to be able to get to those high distances and be able to hit those big balls that you want. But I think too many people that are young kickers are so focused on the outcome of what this, oh, I want to hit this big time ball. How do I do that? Let's just kick over and over and over until I get it. But I really think it's all about like how detailed can you be in the little things to be able to help you get to those big things that you want.
Yeah, right. Just being as repeatable as possible. I feel like when young kickers start out, you go out on the field with your parent or whatnot, and they immediately back up to 55 yards, and they're swinging out of their socks. It's pointless kind of, but it's cool for, a nice clip here and there. But in the long game, being consistent under 40 yards, 45 yards is really more important.
Yeah, and I won't lie. I was the same way of,
Yeah, me too. Of
I'm
course.
sure everybody was. You get in high school, I got to hit this big ball from 58, 50, 59, 60 yards, whatever it is. But then I get to college and I'm like, dude, the farthest field goal that I'm going to attempt this year is like 55, maybe. And it's going to be an end of half scenario. Like, 90% of your field goals in college are going to come under 45 yards. Like, that's literally what it is. Even I don't know how it is in high school, being as consistent as you can from the 45 and in, that's going to be what makes you a lot of money.
Yeah, so playing in Notre Dame, obviously you played in some cold games, especially that playoff game at home. What's some advice you can give to, keep your feet warm on the sidelines, or just make sure that, like, I don't know how much you kicked in that first half, but it felt like you're kind of waiting a little while. Like, what are some things you can do on the sideline to keep your mind and your body in it, so when you're ready to go and when need be?
Yeah, that's definitely a big time focus, right? Of staying warm, because when you get cold, it's hard to get back warm again. So I did some work prior to that game with J.K. Scott, who was a punter for the Packers for a while. Kind of picked his brain on like, hey, when you were in Green Bay, what did you do that helped you be successful? Mason Crosby was the kicker there at the time. Kind of got some advice from J.K. about what Mason did. Being able to, personally, what I did in that game, like the Indiana game, I think it was like 15 degrees, 20 degrees, something like that. I had a big parka jacket, and we had a heated bench or a heater on the sideline, and I threw the parka jacket on, and I had sweatpants. And I threw the sweatpants on, and the heater kind of blew like heat into the sweatpants and kept my legs warm. And then if we were driving or something, sweatpants come off, parka's still on, and then we're in getting close to field goal range. I'd hit like a couple balls in the net, and then I'd be out there rolling, ready to kick. But yeah, the biggest thing when you play in cold games is all about staying warm. That's really what it's all about. Yeah, like how warm can you stay is how successful you're going to be. Whether that's if you're kicking off, punting, snapping. Snappers, you got to keep your hands warm. Kickers, you got to keep your legs warm. That's literally the name of the game, because if you're warm, you'll still have the leg speed that you need and still hitting that good contact, good strike on the ball. It's going to help you be successful.
Yeah, so staying ready so you don't have to get ready type of deal.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so when you were at South Carolina in 2023, what was it like playing with Nick Gargiulo? For those of you who don't know, Nick, prior to South Carolina, he was our captain at Yale football, Team 149. He was an absolute dog for sure. I mean, you could pull up his roster photo from Yale and from South Carolina. He just looks and screams a football player. He's a dog for sure. What was it like playing with him?
Yeah, Nick is a great friend of mine. He was next to me in the locker room that 2023 season, so I got to know him really well. Obviously, he's got a great reputation being a captain for the Yale football team. I guess a singular captain. A lot of other teams do multiple captains. Yale football does one, at least from my understanding. That's a big time honor for him. And obviously he's such a great guy, not only on the field, off the field as well. He and I, got along together really well, as well as a lot of other people in the locker room. Not only because of the way he carried himself on the field as a hard worker, he was an absolute dog in the weight room, and off the field, he was just a dude. Like, everybody liked hanging out with Gargiulo. He was a great guy.
Yeah, so similar to that, like when you're moving to a new team as a grad transfer, what are some things to do to like get involved with the team and like show them like, you mean business? Is that difficult during those first few months when you got to South Bend?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, you're getting put in a room of 120 new guys that you got to try to learn their names and what they're all about. When on the other end, it's them learning about just you, right? So I think it's some of the tips that I'd give to guys that maybe, if you grad transferred or you're just getting into college or whatever, make some time to stay a little extra time at the facility and, you see a guy, just don't walk past him. Introduce yourself, talk to him, get to know him a little bit, because not only from their end, that makes you look like a guy that wants to be a part of the team, be a team loyal, team glory kind of guy. Guy that wants to put the team first. Just try to get you to know your teammates, because that's what it's all about. You could have an insanely talented roster, but if you don't have the guys in the locker room getting along, getting together, getting to know each other, I don't know how good you're going to be. But if you guys, even if your team's average and you guys have really good connections in the locker room, you're going to be really good on the field. It's just kind of how it goes. And even outside of the football facility, all of our guys, we'd always watch whatever, football games, basketball games, baseball games. We'd always hang out on the weekends and, chop it up, make some food, whatever. Those guys, those are some of the great memories you have. And being able to interact with those guys and not just, hide in your corner, hide in your room, whatever it is. That's how you kind of introduce and put yourself into that new team.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like you have a bad performance, you miss a kick or whatnot. You want to build good relationships so you have guys that are picking you up instead of, bashing you behind your back, for sure. So I actually saw on your Instagram that you're into golf a little bit. I don't know if you're still playing or that was a thing in the past, but what are some things that you got from your golf game that have translated into kicking, like your routine, things like that?
Yeah, golf is a big time part of my life, not only because it's really, really able to relate to kicking, just because I love it. I love going out there. I've been playing golf a lot of my life. Started playing when I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. A lot of my buddies grew up playing as well, and a lot of those guys ended up going on to play in college. So super happy for them. And anytime I'm back home and around those guys, we always are playing as well. I think a golfer and a kicker's mindset is very similar because of you usually have a swing thought, and there's a lot of time in golf, at least between shots, where you just can't get out there and, I gotta hit balls 100 times over and over and over and over and over. Yeah, you can practice that way, and you can practice that way as a kicker if you want. I don't recommend it, but if you're playing a golf round, if that's competitive, there's a lot of time between shots, and if you're kicking in a football game that's competitive, there's a lot of time between kicks, and they can be different distances, different angles, different whatever, different weather, everything. And I feel like it's very similar to golf. I go out there, and a big thing in golf is picking your target line. Same thing with kicking, and then just executing your swing thought. That's kind of what I try to do when I'm on the golf course and when I'm on the football field.
Yeah, so for me, kicking, my only swing thought was just keep my head down, keep my eyes on the ball for as long as humanly possible. What was your swing thought?
My swing thought was to, when I take my steps, I look up in between the uprights and I pick a high spot. I try to pick a high spot in the background, and I think about swinging up through the ball to that high spot. That's kind of, what's helped me stay, get my body between the uprights, swinging up to a high spot and getting my hips to the ball as well.
Gotcha. Anytime during the season, did anybody put, like an opposing team stadium, put something on like the scoreboard, like a little edit or something to distract you? Because during one of my games against Columbia, they put up a Dwayne Wade statue. Right behind. I never even looked up before the kick to even see it, but when I was scrolling through my phone after the game, that's like the first time I saw it.
Yeah, I don't think it happened this year because, in the playoff, they can't really do any of that. It's got to be neutral, and, if you're at home, you're not really getting any of that. And I'm trying to think of the away games we played this year. But when I was at South Carolina, there was definitely some of that going on. I remember we played a game at Kentucky in 2022. It was cold. It was like 35 degrees. Night game, and we went up early. I think we were up like 7 at halftime, and there was a kick into the fourth, I think it was the third quarter, to put us up 2 scores. I go out there, and they have 2 scoreboards on both ends. I'm looking up, and the scoreboard's right in the middle of the uprights. So I'm taking my steps back, looking up to the uprights, and they've zoomed in on my face. So I'm literally looking up, looking at my face through the middle of the uprights, and I was like, that's weird. And then, obviously you gotta go out there and, it still made the kick. It was a good kick and execute, but that's always it makes for fun stories, and it's funny when you're out there on the field, but it's definitely a good tactic for, whoever the opposing team is to try to get in your head.
And going back to golf, what is your dream foursome that you could play, you included in the foursome?
Good question. Tiger Woods, 100%. I'd put him in there. I think Michael Jordan would be fun to play with. And then Bryson DeChambeau. Those are my 3.
Yeah, that's a
and
great
then
crew.
obviously
Yeah.
myself being the fourth.
Which course?
It's simple, Augusta National.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a dream.
What about you, Nick?
One of my
What do we
goals
got?
is to get the Augusta National like pin placer on the podcast one day. I think that would be sweet.
Oh, yeah.
But my dream foursome probably John Daly. I think he's a character.
Yeah.
Joey Colcutt's from Bob Does Sports. I'm not sure if you've heard of
Yeah.
him. And then maybe Ricky Fowler.
That's a good
Yeah.
group. Good
Yeah.
group.
All right, moving on. So following your playing days with football, hopefully everything goes well in the NFL, this, that. But after that, what's your career going to look like? What field do you want to get into?
Yeah, so obviously, I'm training right now to hopefully get a chance in the NFL. That's my dream, and that's what I want to continue to pursue. But I think long term, when football is over, I want to get into chiropractic. That's kind of what I studied in my undergrad. I wanted to do kind of a pre-med track, and chiropractic I think is a great way to keep athletes healthy, and even general health, like your daily person, daily citizen, young, old, anything in between. It's a great way to stay healthy and keep your body fresh. And I think it's helped me a lot throughout my athletics and helped a lot of other people that I know as well. And that's something that I want to get into.
And what's the difference, training now for the NFL on your own versus training with a team? I'm just like kicking wise, strength wise, like do you lift, maybe less weight but more mobility? Like what's the difference in that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference of trying to do a college workout versus trying to get to the NFL and do that workout, it's all about quality, right? Instead of quantity. It seems like a lot of college strength coaches are like, you gotta work out till your legs fall off and you gotta bench 20 million reps and everything. It's like, yes, that's good, but when you're developing and getting big is a part of it. But now whenever you are developed and it's all about fine tuning now. It's all about how quality the reps can be to really get the most out of your workout. And that's kicking too. It's not going out there banging 100 balls from 60 to see if you can make them. It's to go out there and execute 20 to 30 balls and hit them perfect every single time and make really quality reps.
I saw that you went to the Senior Specialist Showcase in Florida maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. What was that like being able to compete against guys that are of such high caliber?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good group. A lot of really talented kickers and punters and long snappers down there. With a first year combine kind of thing, it was good. Glad I went down there, and it was definitely a good experience.
That's awesome. All right, so for every podcast, my idea is to ask them a niche question because that's sort of the idea of the pod. So here we go. What is one thing that most casual sports fans don't know about kickers?
Most casual sports fans do not know about kickers. We're all pretty good at golf.
Damn
I would
right.
say. Yeah.
I think my buddies from back home would disagree because I shanked a bunch of shots in front of them, but I think most kickers are good golfers for sure. All right, so that's all we got. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for hopping on the pod. Best of luck with the NFL draft training. And yeah, have a good one, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Nick. Thank you so much.